How are you doing today?
Good.
What's your name?
My name is Sandy.
Sandy. All right, Sandy, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm 31. I was born in Mexico, but I was raised here in Texas, and I've been in Dallas my whole life.
You've been down your whole life.
Well, except when I was born, and then and then I came here, and so I grew up here, so I was raised here.
So what was it like growing up here in Texas?
It's different in the sense of my family and my parents are very traditionally Mexican. So growing up, I didn't really have a lot of like the American like values. My parents really tried to raise me up with like more Hispanic and Mexican values, and I didn't really fall into like the American like standard until I was a lot more older. So like things, even simple things as like eating out at restaurants, like we didn't go to like things like Denny's or Chili's or anything like that. Not until I was like well over like almost in my 20s that I started doing those things. When I saw all my friends going out to places like that I wasn't used to going to. And that was just because, again, like my parents just wanted to keep our heritage kind of like alive. So that's kind of like how it was growing up here for me.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you might have faced?
In life, in general?
Yeah, in general. Or, some of your biggest success or achievements,
I've gone through a lot of challenges in like a lot of aspects of my life, including friends and family, marriage, because I was married. I'm divorced now. And as corny as it sounds, like my biggest accomplishment is my daughter. I have a 12-year-old, and every day I strive to be better for her, to do better for her, and to just kind of, every parent does, right? Like you want to be more than what your parents were.
So being here, your entire life, having your child, were there any like internal struggles that you had to like face on a daily basis, to overcome yourself?
Yes. I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but I feel like your parents, they always say like, oh, you'll know when you get older or when you have your kids. And I think there's some truth to that. Now being older and having a child of my own, there's a lot of like identity crisis, especially as a mother. Like, you tether yourself to other relationships, whether that's like as a mother, as a sister, as a lover, as a friend, and you kind of lose this sense of who you are. So a lot of the struggles growing up or, with my daughter was just like, who am I outside of just being a mother? Or who am I outside of just being a friend? And that's kind of still something that I struggle with now.
Do you ever push her towards like your traditional, like how your parents, try to keep things culturally or identity like connected to you, like as far as like where your parents are from, or do you kind of like give her the chance to explore like American traditions?
Oh, I allow her to explore anything that she's curious in. So if she has any curiosity in any regard, whether that's like religion or where she's from or just in anything that, and kids have access to the internet now. Yeah. So whatever she's exploring, I allow her to be curious. I don't constrain her to just like one identity, like she's Hispanic, but she's also living here in America. And there's so much more, there's a lot of challenges, as an American and just the way that America is in general. But I allow her to understand what that's like and understand, the way the world is and, come to herself because, she's still a child. She doesn't need to be tied down to a certain identity, but also still remembering, where her roots are from and who she is and where she comes from, learning how to speak Spanish well, being able to communicate with her community and everything. There's still some value to that. But I don't want her to feel like that is the only identity that she has.
Yeah. So besides your daughter, was there anyone else that had a big impact on your life?
A good impact?
Yeah. That made a difference in how you operate as I would say, someone who has Hispanic background, but also living in Texas, adjusting to like American.
Yeah. I don't think I have a single person who I could say that had a good impact. I think a lot of the people who have crossed my life have left certain impacts that could be good, could be bad. Um, it's at the end, it's about how I take those relationships and how I take those lessons with them and how I make it better for myself.
Could you give me an example?
Well, like for instance, like my father, but he was very strict, very in Spanish we call it machista, which is just very like men who you normally feel like women have a certain role and so and despite that, like he was very strict and very stern with me. There's some negative like connotations to that as I grew up, but I kind of overcame those things, and I learned to not tether myself to that type of identity. So even though like my relationship with him wasn't always good, it still served who I am today. And it could have taken a more negative turn. I could have been something that I'm not proud of today. But I took all those lessons, whether it was good or bad, and it made me a better person. It made me want to be better for my daughter. This is what I grew up with. This is what I don't want for her, and how can I make those changes?
Yeah. So looking back now, what do you want people to take away from your story? What's a lesson or a message you can leave behind for someone who might have been raised like the same condition, or someone who has a child as well, who's trying to rediscover their identity through their parents' past or society.
I think it's really easy to be influenced by the people around you. You are a product of your environment, and I think it's sometimes you have to remember that your identity, is not constricted. It's not linear. You could be so many things, and it's like like a tree with a bunch of branches. Like there's so many factors of who you are. You shouldn't be tethered to what people say you are or to what you're growing up to be. Like whether you're Hispanic or Black or whatever. That shouldn't be. You shouldn't be constrained to that. Be who you want to be, as long as you're kind and loving and you're trying to be better. I think that's just kind of like the lesson that I've learned. Is just that we're always evolving, we're always changing. There's no there's not only one you. There's so many versions of you.
I think that's really good. All right. Thank you, Sandy.
Of course. Oh, my legs are a little jiggly.
Nervous?
Yeah.